wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Peace Talk series, episode 2. And this discussion is presented by Pusat Studi Agama dan Perdamaian UIN Sunan Ampel, Surabaya. First of all, the Honorable the Dean of Faculty of Usuluddin and Philosophy, Professor Abdul Qadir Riyadi, the Honorable the Head of the Department of Religious Studies, Dr. Ahmad Siddiq, and the Honorable the Director of Pusat Studi Agama dan Perdamaian, Mr. Muhammad Abdullah MA, and also all the lecturers and all the participants, the students. It is an honor for us today to have Professor Ananta Kumar Giri as our speaker today. Today we will discuss with him about the trans-religious dialogue. So thank you for coming, Professor Ananta. Welcome to UIN Sunan Ampel, Surabaya. Welcome to Indonesia. Please give applause to our today is the second event of Peace Talk series, and last week we have held the first episode of Peace Talk series. We have discussed about the identity construction about the Arab descendant or Habaib in Gresik, East Java. And today we will talk about the Interfaith Dialogue in India. And I believe we will have a fascinating discussion today. But before we start our discussion, we will first listen to a welcoming speech by the Dean of Faculty of Usuluddin and Philosophy. So please, Professor Abdul Qadir Riyadi, the time is yours.
Thank you, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin. All of us are very happy today in this very special time. We have a very special guest all the way from India, Professor Ananta Kumar Giri. Welcome to you, sir, to the Faculty of Usuluddin and Philosophy. This is one of 9 faculties in this university named Sunan Ampel State Islamic University. We are now in the town of Surabaya, and Prof. Giri is the first time to visit Surabaya, but not the first time to visit Indonesia. He has been to Indonesia for many times, perhaps for 5-6 times to Indonesia. Four times to Indonesia, but very first time to Surabaya. So we are very honored and pleased to have this wonderful guest. Please give him a very good round of applause. He is very interesting personality in many ways. Number one, because he is graduate of one of the best university in the world called Johns Hopkins University, where great scholars graduated. And also now at the moment he is teaching at one of the best university in India called Madras, the Institute for of Development Studies in India. He has also so many works. I haven't got the chance to find out in his Google Scholars, but through short conversation with him, I learned that he is very great because so many bright ideas. And what is interesting is that he is in very good contact with my lecturer as well, with my Vice Chancellor called Professor Mampela Rambele. So I and you have a very good connection in this regard. Not only academic, perhaps spiritual connection as well. So please listen to him carefully, and you can learn a great deal of knowledge and wisdom from his presentation. he has prepared a very interesting topic to discuss, which is transnational dialogue. You can learn in the context of peacemaking series, peacemaking talks. So we are all peacemakers here, and therefore we organize regularly the Peace Talks series. And the second Peace Talk series is very special because again we are visited by a very globally renowned scholar from India. So thank you very much. Please enjoy the conference, enjoy the seminar. To ask him very good questions so that you can learn something beautiful and wonderful from his ideas and so on. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Kadir, for your welcoming speech. Well, before we start our discussion, I will give some brief introduction of Professor Ananta. So, Professor Ananta is a distinguished scholar from India with a deep background in anthropology. And his research interest lies on dialogue, religious and social transformation, and also social movement. And he is a professor in Madras Institute for Development Studies in India, and he pursued his MA in Sociology from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi, India, and another MA in Anthropology from the Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, USA, and Ph.D. in Anthropology from the Johns Hopkins University. Please give applause once again. Okay, and today he already prepared a very interesting topics about trans-religious dialogues, and actually we also very curious about the context of India, Professor Ananta. So speaking about India, I think we as Indonesian have already very familiar with Indian culture. I think anyone in the room know a lot about Bollywood, right? Bollywood is our favorite, Professor, and Indian actors were our idols long before we knew Korean idols, I think. Yeah. And we can name many titles of Indian films as well as its soundtrack. So Indonesian is already have emotional connection with India actually, and I think Indonesia and India have or share many similarity in terms of the population. We are two of the biggest population in the world. Yeah, we have 100 millions population, and we also very diverse in terms of culture and also religion. And the difference, if we should mention the difference, is maybe that Indonesia is the majority is Islam and India is Hindu, and Islam I think is the second largest religion there. And we are very curious about how interfaith dialogue conducted in India, particularly those involving Islam. So maybe in the context of trans-religious dialogue, you can share the story or daily practice of interfaith dialogue in India. So let's get started. Professor Ananta, we excited to hear your thoughts and also your story about interfaith dialogue. And after Professor Ananta's talk, I will let the floor to raise some questions. So please feel free to note anything from the talk and then ask during after the presentation. Silakan nanti bisa disimak dan teman-teman sangat dianjurkan untuk mengajukan pertanyaan ya. Jika tidak dalam bahasa Inggris, bisa dalam bahasa Indonesia. Oke ya?
Oke.
Atau bahasa India?
Selalu ada.
Okay. Next we will continue to the discussion. So please, Professor Ananta, the time is yours. Give applause for our speaker.
Waalaikumsalam.
So, thank you so much for our respected team, Professor Giri. Thank you so much, Professor Giri. Terima kasih, Professor Abdullah.
Yes.
Dr. Lisa, and our friend Dr. Ahmad, and all of you whose names. And I look forward to knowing about you. I'll pass on my notebook. You can share your name, email, and number. And I also I will share many contacts. What a joy to be together this afternoon, offering ourselves to this call of dialogue. And the call is like this. You know, as a Muslim, every morning at 4 o'clock we hear Azan. Azan. Like the Azan, our life also is also being gifted with the Azan of dialogue. Because the fundamental journey of life begins with dialogue. Isn't it? Life begins with dialogue. For example, the chemistry of life, the biology of life, the dialogue among elements. And now scientists themselves are saying, if there were not a proper dialogue between elements, and if we had just missed a little bit, just 0.001% on some extent, then we would not be here in this room. So therefore, as we hear Azan from our own religious fields, there is also an Azan of life, a call of life. And that call of life is dialogue. As it is part of three important call and calling of life, is dialogue, beauty, and dignity. Life is possible with beauty, dignity, and dialogue. Beauty, and how important aesthetics in Islamic life. And behold our body as a work of art, you know, and the whole Holy Quran, the calligraphy, the letters themselves, you know, the beauty of letters, and the way that we do not have an idol in the place of worship. It's not letter. So therefore, beauty is an important foundation, but also an important ongoing nurturer of life. In philosophy, there are two aspects. One is genealogy and the other is ontology. That means genealogically we have originated. But our genealogical origin does not stop when we began. Our genealogy interacts with ontology in the sense that because we have come from God, our continued existence is with God. God didn't create us and then throw us into the Javani Sea and then eaten by the suns. Okay. Or then picked up by. So therefore, the genealogy and the ontology go hand in hand, and that is the part of the journey of life. So with this prefatory comment, I want to invite us to the whole calling of dialogue. And we are familiar with the term interreligious dialogue. We are familiar with the term interfaith work and interfaith dialogue. To this, I want to bring a language and a practice which is slightly transmutational and transformative, and invite us to think about what is the difference between inter-religious dialogue and trans-religious dialogue. Now, this difference also needs to be understood in connection with another very important movement in world of thinking and practice. It's interdisciplinary studies and transdisciplinary. In a way, there is a link between dialogue among religions and dialogue among Islam, which calls for a profound acknowledgement acknowledgement of the need for dialogue between science and religion. Because dialogue among religions, it happens mostly at the level where we are discussing our religious doctrines. It is at the level of little bit of our beliefs and but the moment we talk about beliefs, belief is one part of the human condition, isn't it? We are human beings and our belief is one part of our human condition. And later on, as I speak about India, and I will also give you about examples of dialogue in Indonesia. And former President Abdurrahman Wahid, we prayed to his immortal soul, and I refer to a statement given by him that if we follow the rule that if you change your religion, then you have to be executed, then he says that we have to execute 25 million people of Indonesia. You might have heard that statement of Abdurrahman Wahid. Have you heard that? So what does it imply? And Wahid speaking this, it points to a condition of living that this is the belief, and even if there is certain doctrinal basis to this belief, but the reality of life is such that it is, the reality of life is not just closed within our beliefs, which points to the fact that our interreligious dialogue among religions is not just about beliefs, though belief is a part of it. But how belief becomes a part of it? Now, for example, I'll give you another example. You are meeting a man, okay? M-A-N, and the man says that I adore you, okay? Okay, I adore you, okay? And then you meet next time, he says, I adore you, okay? Then he says, after 25 times, I adore you, okay? And then even next time he is coming, he is not in. And instead of bringing a little swartlan for you, prepared by himself, not by his mother, because now our sisters and friends, they need their friends to cook for themselves, isn't it? If you are going to a relationship where you would have to cook and the man has to eat, that is not the ideal relationship many young people looking for. So therefore, a young man who is sick and not after 25 times, he bringing a little food, or what women want, they want a piece of poetry. And I spoke with the dean in the university, and I asked him whether he write poetry, and he said, okay. Maybe not, but what happened when you enter into a relationship? Oh, yes. But this is the one poem that he wrote, and he said, then I finished when my job was done, then I have not touched the poetry. Coming back to the idea of belief is that you say I adore you and adore you, But if you accompany your statement with practice, like write a poem, and if your friend is tired, bring water, your friend has come from walking for 5 kilometers, you bring oil and put oil to the feet. For example, in Bible, have you read the Bible, any of you? Maybe not. But yes, you have. And because the whole field of Christian-Muslim dialogue that Professor Abdullah is working on, and it is a very small field, but in India there is some little work on that. I think a month ago I visited a very important center for Christian theology in Delhi, and in that center I met a scholar who is working on the dialogue between Christians and Muslim theology, and in India there is a small network of scholars working on Hindu-Muslim theological interaction. So, and very interesting that when I am visiting Indonesia, I find some universities, maybe even Islamic universities, there is study of other religions. Yeah. And it is a profound development. And because I am also associated with a university in India, an Islamic university. I just visited them a month ago. It is called Darul Huda Islamic University. Darul Huda is a very interesting Islamic university, and it is a voluntary initiative. It is not built by the state. And from in the same school, there is student from 5th class up to the university. And so they have also a kind of study of other religions. And so in the Bible there is a story, and it goes like this. Lord Jesus Christ, he was coming, and he was very tired. He was walking from village to village, and he's reaching the house, the person, and the woman is coming out, and she is putting water, and after putting the water, she is putting oil in his feet. And his disciple, one of his disciples, he is commenting to this woman, why are you wasting your oil? Okay? And then Lord Jesus Christ says that if she, no, I was tired, you didn't do anything about it. You are scolding the person. So now bring this story to interreligious dialogue. Because interreligious dialogue is not the same that I am the best person in the world. Because each religion, if you listen to each religion, it would say that our religion is the best in the world. Some say in a very loud way, and some have it in their consciousness, though in their literature they may not say about it. For example, in the Vedas, there is a very profound line. Ekam sat vipra bahuda bhavanti, means the truth is one. Again, with respect, like Allah, Allah is one. But vipra, the people who are trying to know, they speak it differently. So therefore, that idea that truth is one, but as human beings we speak it differently. So in that way, even this religion, which try to acknowledge all religion, but in reality also in Indian history, many people have used the language Vedic to propound a view of religion which is not so open. And that is also there in contemporary India. In contemporary India, some people, some political leaders and religious leaders and one or two intellectuals, they use the language of the Veda to also create a closed kind of religious space. So interreligious dialogue, then we all come together in space and time with our own initial realization that we are the children of the best. Let us put it that way. But as I am the child of the best, when I meet with you, the first invitation is that at least I should not say that you are the child of the worst. So therefore, interreligious dialogue, as we meet together in different ways, the first important thing is to realize that all of us will come from our notions that we are the best, and it is a reality. Then we would have to conduct dialogue among the best who already think that we are the best. So what kind of practices we can do? Then one important methodology and practical work is, as I gave you the idea, a boy says, I adore you after 25 times. Similarly, then this is the question each one of us can ask. Yes, you are the best. Then what is your practice? For example, how do you treat women? And this we ask to ourselves. If I think that I am the best, then how do I treat the women of my family, women of my village, my state, my community, and the other world? Not only women of my religion, but all the women in the world. Because in human history, in religious wars, first instrument is to attack the women of other religions. So one aspect is how do we relate to women. Second is how do we relate to nature. Because there is, even if you think, now Hindus say that we consider nature sacred. But you come to Ganges, Gange is considered Ganga. You have watched religious movies, you have watched some Indian movies, you like it. And there is a movie also about Ganga, and very beautiful movie, Ganga Tere, and but when you come to Ganga in Madras, now even our Prime Minister now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, so he is a member of Parliament from Banaras. He is not born in Banaras. He is born in Gujarat, and he fought the election from Banaras. I do not have to tell you why did he fight change from Gujarat to come to Banaras. But he has been the Prime Minister for 10 years, and the government of India, the project was to clean Ganga. And there was collaboration between Japanese government and Indian government. After 10 years of uncountable money, not much has happened. So therefore the point is, I may consider my river is sacred. Next day, I put all my trust to my river. Again, so one important characteristic of interreligious dialogue is each one of us asks ourselves that how do we relate in our daily life, in our political practice, social policy, vis-a-vis relationship with natural environment. Very practical question, isn't it? The third thing is how do we relate to children? Now children, they are very valuable. Would you agree or would you disagree? But there is also a reality of child abuse. For example, in some countries, children are tied to the camels And there is camel race when children are tired to be camel. Is it a reality or not? It is a reality even now in 2024. And I do not have to name them, and we do not have to name what is the religious belief of some of these people. Just think about it. So children, how do we relate to our children? Today, malnutrition is a global problem. Childhood poverty and childhood malnutrition, because of that, they are stunting. And when you are stunted in the beginning of your life, then your growth becomes very, very limited. There is a relationship between early childhood, nutrition, your mother's food during pregnancy. So how in interreligious dialogue we bring these questions of condition of our children? Not only the child of President Jokowi, the granddaughter of President Jokowi, not only the granddaughter of Sultan of Yogyakarta, but each one of our children and grandchildren. So now you can feel that how interreligious dialogue needs to involve these practical questions and practical works. And now we come to science. Because all religions also have an openness to science, isn't it? There is an openness to science in Islam, and therefore in the Holy Quran, Ikra occurs so many times. It is a word that occurs many more times than any other word. Ikra means knowledge. But somehow in modernity, the relationship between science and religion got disconnected. So today, each one of us, as we try to, we just cannot say that because this is happening now in India, there is a lot of rain is happening now. And it is not just enough to say that God is angry, therefore the rain is happening. There is a connection. But just to solve the problem by saying that God is angry and there is tsunami, is it enough now? No. So with all these things, now we will come to certain aspects of trans-religious dialogues. First of all, how are you feeling so far? Are you understanding okay? You can understand what I am saying? Or it's okay?
Yes.
No problem with Bhasa? With my language there is no problem?
Never.
So then we come to the issue of trans-religious dialogue. It is first slide, and as I speak with you, I will also pass on my notebook. And you can write your name, email, and number, what of you like. At least I will say. So beginning with this term, here in first slide, I am discussing the relationship with responsibility, dialogue, and justice. The first slide. Is there? Yes. Responsibility involves dialogues, but it involves a rethinking of the commonsensical understanding of dialogue, involving two to polylogs, involving one, two, and many. Dialogue is linked to contingency, but not confined to the double contingency of the self and the other, but it touches the triple contingency of self, other, and the world. Dialogue involves a hermeneutics of putting one's feet. Dialogue dialogue, but dialogue also means speaking and working together. So and philosophically, if you read Paul Ricoeur, he was a great philosopher of religion. And in Paul Ricoeur, there is a relationship between speech and action. And in language also, if you read philosophers of language, like Wittgenstein and also Johnson, the speech act, all these philosophers and language thinkers, they are inviting us to realize language, dialogue, not just as speech, but also action. Then, as we move in our life, for example, I am born a Hindu. I am born in a family, but we do not call ourselves Hindu. Because when you are born, your mother does not tell you that I am your mother. Isn't it? It happens sometimes, when you are becoming 16 and somebody else is coming to see you, oh, I am your mother. Similarly, the point is that many people in India, like myself, I have grown up in a religious environment without being always identified that I am a Hindu, I am a Hindu. At the same time, I have grown in a Hindu ecology. But as I was growing up, there is a small Muslim hamlet, maybe 2 kilometers from our village. And it was growing up as a child, we are looking forward to the day of the Tajia. Tajia? That is, when that Maharam, during Maharam there is the celebration, the procession. And we would look forward to that day, not knowing much about it. Then I would come with my mother to a village which is maybe 5 kilometers and it takes half an hour to walk. And there is a hospital built by the Christians, one Christian community. And I would walk with my mother, and then I am very interested in the church. And then they would say that, so therefore, as a small child growing up, so that is how my religious background. The point is that when our religious experience is that when we move from the home to the world, we meet other religions. And when we meet other religions, then it also leads to an experience. Clear? Experience. For example, you are used to life in your own religion in a particular way. As I was in Salatiga, Persik, and during my discussion, the leader who conducts interfaith children activity, it is called Sobat not by Persik. And then in this Sobat children from different religions come. And then when a child from Islamic background is coming, and then when they are visiting a Buddhist temple, then she would ask, why there is a statue of Buddha in the temple. But then it is an experience. But if this child had never visited a Buddhist temple, he would not have that experience. And then the question, why there is a statue in the temple? And then the teacher would say that, maybe the statue is a representation of the infinite. So now, to this idea of interreligious experience, which involves movement in our life, moving beyond familiarity to many unfamiliar things, but the unfamiliar then slowly becomes an invitation for knowledge, for experience. Now, if we condemn all the unfamiliar experiences of our life, then we cannot live as a human being. isn't it? So therefore, this requires movement, and that movement involves experience and interpretation. In a way, experience and interpretation go together. Because if we interpret the experience as just impure, as just irreligious, okay, then our ability to experience is also become closed. So interreligious dialogue involves interreligious experience, but also interreligious interpretation. And this interpretation is a very nuanced interpretation. For example, we say Rahim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Rahim. God is merciful. How God is merciful? Now in Buddha, in the path of Buddha, it is Karuna. And what is the relationship between mercy, which happens in Christianity? Our present Pope, you know what is his name? Pope Francis. And our present Pope, Pope Francis, is a great practitioner of interreligious dialogue. He came to the great mosque in and also in Cairo, I think, and the mufti there and the Pope they met, which follows an earlier great work that Saint Francis of Assisi had done. You might have heard about Saint Francis of Assisi. He is a great saint. And he, as a saint, he lived a life of poverty. Secondly, he loved the animals. Thirdly, he was a great practitioner of dialogue. He walked all the way from Assisi, which is in Italy, to Turkey, and met the Sultan. And at that time, Europe and Turkey were in war. He met the Sultan. So coming back to this whole, coming back to our idea of dialogue as multi-topial, I am giving here two ideas. One is the diatopial hermeneutics. That means our hermeneutics of interpretation, what is also called the jihad in Islam. And I do not know much about it except just have heard a bit about it, jihad, and how creative and multidimensional the tradition of jihad is. It is not just literary interpretation. It is not just literal interpretation. Jihad, for example, interpretation in Indian tradition. For example, if you have to interpret a text, if you have to read a text, for example, I am reading Bhagavad Gita, then there is certain kind of life practice I have to do. I am expected to do. For example, be non-violent, reduce my anger, and so that then with that kind of life practice, it is not just one day. It is a lifelong practice in which I am reading a text. And when I am reading a text, then the text is giving me a meaning, which is also very unique, isn't it? So therefore, this multi-topial hermeneutics, first of all, hermeneutics. This hermeneutics is not just reading a text, it is not just a textual hermeneutics. This is a hermeneutics of life. And this hermeneutics involves both the study of the text and practice of travel, food work. We work with our food. And as we are working with our food, Raimunda Panika, and in the next slide, he talks about diatopial hermeneutics. That means we have 2 feet. He said we put one feet in our culture and another in another. For example, in Indonesia, later on I'll tell you briefly about those Indonesian scholars in Indonesia who are Christians and they have tried to understand Islam, Muslims who are trying to understand Christianity. That means they have put their foot in both the cultures, isn't it? So similarly, I'm born Hindu and I'm trying to, whenever I go to a mosque. And in Indonesia, another very important thing that I experience is that in the mosques here, men and women are worshipping together, isn't it? Everywhere. So, this is the idea of dialogue we are talking about. The second idea is multi-topical hermeneutics. Multi means many. Now, you know about multiculturalism. There are many cultures. In Indonesia, there are multiple cultures, yes or no? There is beautiful food not only in Java, but also in Sumatra. Would you agree or not? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, this multiculturality that is there, then even if you have one tongue, T-O-N-G-E, if you have one mouth, does it mean that you cannot eat simultaneously Sumatran food and Javanese food? Does it mean that? Also? Yes. And now the young people here, they also like, pizza.
Yes.
Pizza and others. Very good. So, therefore, as we have one mouth, so as we have one mouth, but we can have multiple food. Similarly, we have 2 feet biologically, but we can walk across multiple cultures, multiple religions, multiple spiritual experiences. That is multi-topical hermeneutics. So now our dialogue, interreligious dialogue, becomes trans-religious in the way that when I am meeting you, coming from another religion, I am at least open to your religious experience. And when I am open, then maybe certain aspect of your religious experience will touch me. It does not mean that I would have to be converted, but it will touch me. It will enrich, for example, if you bring meditation to prayer, then one does not have to be converted to another religion, because Islam also has a deep tradition of meditation. How did the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad? Before the Quran was revealed, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, when he was coming back, as a helper from the camels, he would always go to the mountain, isn't it? He would go to the mountains, and this going to the mountains not only once, twice, for 15 years, for a long time. And that is also a meditative moment. A meditative moment with the mountain, with the transcendence. So the point is, multi-topical hermeneutics points to these kind of experiences that we can always have, even if we continue to belong to our own religion. And our enriched experience then would help us to belong to our world, and that is global responsibility. Very quickly now, I will give you some works of dialogue in India. And for example, in India, we have a long tradition of openness to other religions. Now, Islam came to India almost during Prophet's time. No? During Prophet's time, almost. And earlier it became a different kind of Now, Christianity came to India during almost the time of the apostles. Saint Thomas, who is one of the apostles with Lord Jesus Christ, he came to India. The city where I am, Madras, has a church dedicated to Saint Thomas in the mountain called Saint Thomas. Judaism, Hebrew religion, when they were, not only when they were persecuted, even before that they had come to India. And the king of Kerala, he welcomed him, not only gave him security, but gave him a lot of support. So, in this background, that tradition has continued, of course with a lot of challenges. For example, when Mughals came to India, during Mughals' time, Emperor Akbar has a practice of listening to the religious leaders from all religions in his court. He invited the Christian, I think Saint Francis Xavier or one of his colleagues from Goa. Before that, Emperor Asoka, who fought a very difficult war, and he came to mainland called Kalinga, and then they gave him resistance, and the blood that flew from that, it made him repentant and follow the path of Buddhism. One of the principles of Emperor Akbar's interreligious meeting is he was one of the first persons in history, around 300 BC or something like that. He was conducting interreligious meetings. And what is one of the rules is that you can tell the best thing about yourselves, but you cannot tell anything negative about another religion. Is it a good practice or not? Do you understand? We are meeting. I said that my religion is very best, very good. But do not say that your religion is not so good. And this is the rule Emperor Akbar had established 300, 400 BC. You look at the exact number. Now, India, building upon this tradition with a lot of challenges, of course, that has continued. In the last 100 years, I'll give you the example of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He was born around 1820 or something like that. So he lived the life as a Muslim for 3-4 months in a year, as a Christian for 3-4 months, and as a Hindu. Yes. And Swami Vivekananda, who you might have heard about Parliament of World's Religion, which happened in 1893. And Swami Vivekananda from India had come to the Parliament. And when everybody was addressing gentlemen and women, he said, "My brothers and sisters." And that immediately touched the heart of everybody. And he drew a lot of affection and support. Swami Vivekananda himself was a pilgrim, a wanderer. Yes. And one of the story is that he was once walking and he met maybe a low caste Muslim or a low caste person who was having a smoke. You know, in Indonesia, you smoke. Some people smoke. But do women in Indonesia smoke? So Swamiji saw this man smoking, and then he said that you have to give your smoke to me, your bidi to me. And he said that, "No, I am a low caste person." Swamiji said, "No, I don't have." Swami Vivekananda was very deep conversation with Islam. Christianity, Gandhi, Tagore, Sri Aurobindo, these are some of the great thinkers. Among the contemporary religious leaders from the Hindu space, we have Mata Amritananda Devi from Kerala. And she is born into a fisher person community. And her space, what she does, when she comes and she gives an embrace to everyone. We have another religious teacher, his name is Sri Ravi Shankar, who is known for the Art of Living Foundation. And Sri Ravi Shankar also, at least in his speech, he emphasizes into religious life. Then from Islam we have Maulana Wahiduddin Khan, and he is a great thinker and an interpreter and practitioner of Islam. Many years ago, in 1996, in the seashore of Bombay, there was a meeting of a Hindu spiritual organization called Swadhyaya, and they had invited the Maulana, and the Maulana always emphasizes on rational thinking and peace. He has a center called Center for Peace and Spirituality. This is my book on global responsibility, and there is a chapter, 2-3 paragraphs on the Maulana. And the Maulana, in his book, Leading a Spiritual Life, Maulana Wahiduddin Khan tells us, critical thinking is constructive thinking. It is a phenomena of creativity. And creative thinking is the only way to intellectual progress. Creative thinkers are always able to discover new things, but creative thinking cannot be developed without critical thinking. You should therefore accept criticism with a tranquil mind, and you should discover that your critique was an intellectual enabler. The greatest weakness of every man or woman is that he or she lives in the boundaries of his or her own mind. This kind of thinking tends to induce self-conditioning, which is not always a positive nature. No one except your critic can decondition your mind. So, finally, just 1 minute, I will present you a poem with the aspect of poetics of dialogue. And here we come to yes, the slide number 40. 40. Can you bring? Okay, as it is coming, let me present you this poem and sound. And I have a small request, if you don't mind. We have sitting together for 1 hour. Would you mind standing up for a moment? I request you kindly join me in saying this poem together. Sound. Sabda Brahma. Sound divine. Life begins with sound. A dance of vibrations. Religion begins with sound. How does it become only cold? Where is meditation with vibration.
Where is meditation with vibration?
The call of purification.
In the call of purification.
Next one. Please sing a song.
Please sing a song.
Oh, I cannot sing.
Oh, I cannot sing.
I sing tahleel.
I sing tahleel.
You are offering to sounds.
You are offering to songs.
You are chanting of Quran.
You are chanting of Quran.
May the sound of Vedas
May the sound of Vedas
alive in my life.
alive in my life.
Dancing with sounds
Dancing with sounds
in the Vedas and Quran.
in the Vedas and Quran. Torah
In the Psalms.
and the Psalms.
Teragata
Teragata
and Jendavesta.
and Zenavesta.
Teragata is the book written by the even non-in Buddhism, the very early time. And the next one. Brahma,
Brahma,
Abraham,
Abraham,
Ibrahim,
Ibrahim,
resonance of sound.
resonance of sounds.
I am a daughter of Ibrahim.
I am a daughter of Ibrahim.
Would you kill me
Would you kill me
if I sing?
if I sing?
Aham Brahmasmi.
Aham Brahmasmi.
I am Brahma.
I am Brahma.
I am divine.
I am divine.
Doyam Brahmasmi.
Yes, Brahma.
You are divine.
You are divine.
Vayam Brahmasmi.
Vayam Brahmasmi.
We are divine.
We are divine.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Ananta, for your very interesting presentation. I think there are many insights that we can take away. He started with a quote, a very beautiful quote, that life is possible with beauty, dignity, and dialogue. Let me translate it to the students. Ya, jadi Profesor Ananta ini tadi dalam presentasinya menawarkan istilah trans-religious dialogue. Kalau kita sudah sangat familiar dengan interreligious dialogue, di sini beliau menyebut trans-religious dialogue untuk menekankan bahwa interreligious dialogue itu harus bersifat transformatif, interdisiplinary, dan melibatkan kerja nyata, gitu ya. Jadi beberapa kali tadi kita dengar Profesor Ananta menekankan bahwa interreligious dialogue itu harus diikuti dengan praktik, gitu ya. Dalam interreligious dialogue, orang-orang tuh berangkat dari berbagai latar belakang yang berbeda dan masing-masing merasa bahwa dia adalah yang terbaik, ya. Kepercayaannya, identitasnya itu adalah yang terbaik. Dari ide tersebut, berarti interreligious dialogue itu berangkat dari ide bahwa setiap orang merasa dia adalah yang terbaik, gitu. Nah, yang menjadi pertanyaan atau tugas selanjutnya menurut Profesor Ananta adalah yang terpenting bagaimana kita bisa melakukan praktik-praktik yang terbaik sesuai keyakinan kita sebagai dalam tanda kutip umat yang terbaik tadi. Kita harus bertanya kepada diri kita bagaimana misalnya kita memperlakukan orang lain dengan sebaik-baiknya. Beliau memberi contoh misalnya memperlakukan wanita, anak-anak, nature, gitu ya, alam, lingkungan. Nah, dan dialog itu tidak hanya soal bicara, bukan hanya soal kata-kata, ya, tetapi working together, bekerja bersama-sama, dan pada akhirnya harus melahirkan justice. Tadi beliau mencontohkan Pope Francis itu adalah salah seorang tokoh yang sudah mengimplementasikan interreligious dialogue melalui aksi-aksi nyata. Dan kemudian tadi juga disinggung di akhir di konteks di India, dalam konteks India, agama-agama datang ke India itu sudah sangat lama sekali, mungkin tidak jauh berbeda waktunya dengan ketika agama tersebut didirikan, ya, baik Islam, Kristen maupun Yahudi. Dan kekayaan kekaisaran dalam dinasti-dinasti India itu sudah banyak kemudian mempraktikkan dialog antar agama dengan mendengarkan pemuka-pemuka agama dari berbagai agama. Dan juga tadi menyebut banyak sekali tokoh perdamaian dari India, misalnya Gandhi, dan tadi dari Islam ada Maulana Wahiduddin Khan ya, teman-teman bisa lebih lanjut. Dan beliau tadi menutup dengan sangat indah melalui puisi dialog yang sangat dalam dan sangat menyentuh. Sekali lagi boleh applause untuk okay, next we will have question and answer session. So for anyone who wish to ask, please raise your hand. Pak Dekan, one question from Pak Dekan, and the other you can ask in Indonesia ya, misalnya pada bahasa Indonesia silakan. Anything? Okay, Andi, and then is there any one? Okay, yeah, Julia. Okay, first is from Pak Dekan.
Thank you, Prof. Ananta, very interesting in the quote that you writing in Bali, I think it was. I hope that you leave the quote here with us so that we can hang it somewhere in our faculty. Would you mind to do that? To leave the poem that you are writing, to leave that here with us. Yeah, and we can hang it somewhere. Okay. Yeah. So we can hang it somewhere to remember you, to commemorate your visit here. That was beautiful. The religion started with sounds. That is very good, very powerful. Now, equally interesting is the symbolism of home and the world experience. That everybody starts from home to step toward the world with foot walking and so forth. That was very interesting symbolism. But what intrigues me is the idea that everybody has very different idea of home and different way of being raised at home. The symbolism of how people have different setup of religious belief. Some would be raised in a very windowless home, as it were, where they do not know anything other than their own religion. And therefore, people like this, when they step out to the world, they will bring their belief into society, assuming that their religion, their belief is always the best, ignoring the possibility of other religion. So that is concrete problems that we are facing, that many people do get out of the world with windowless experience of home, so to speak. Other extremes, we have some people stay in a window-full home is full of windows, meaning that they accept all forms of religion, liberals, seculars, they do such things. So they accept all religious beliefs, so much so that when they go outside the world, when they go into the world, then they will accept all religion as true. So this is the different, the other extremes of reality that we are facing. Perhaps in India, that we do face this problem in Indonesia. So we do have these two extremes, which are equally very difficult to deal with. So my question is how to come to terms with such problem. The second question is nothing to do with your presentation, but I know of a person in India at the moment still alive. His name is Guru. Yeah, I want you to give you a comment on how and who is he and what do you think of his preaching. Yes, thank you very much.
Then after I will get the Now, these are two ways, the windowless and windowful. But then, to characterize both these types as the same kind of extremism, and it calls for a little bit more meditation. Because those people who believe in all religions, we believe in all religions. Secondly, we believe also all religions are true. These people are the same. And third thing is that what is the dimensions of truth? Because to characterize those people who believe that we believe on all religions as also posing the problem, in what way they are posing the problem? Because they are not opposed to any one particular religion. And their acceptance of all religions as true. Therefore, and that position is not just liberal position. That position is also emerging from a deep religious practice in one's own tradition. It is a reality today that many religious practitioners from almost all religions, not from all religions, the number may vary, like 1 to 3. We have living examples of religious practitioners from all religions of the world who have a degree of openness of this kind like this. So that we would have to, our world has to be prepared to be open to this kind of experiences. Because the problem of the world is also, the world suffers from a kind of religious stasis. Because the problem with religion is the problem of religious organization and spiritual consciousness. There is a dialectic between the two. So this, thank you for your kind openness and kind research.
Okay, next question from Adi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Mr. Ananta, welcome to University Saranapal Surabaya. My name is Andi Ardiansyah. I'm sorry. Where? Ya, bagaimana? Ya, tadi penjelasan dari tadi saya mengambil penjelasan tentang ada kata Sungai Gangga. Bagaimana teologi agama Hindu mengenai tentang Dewi Gangga sehingga mempengaruhi perilaku sosial dan ritual yang ada di sungai itu sendiri. Thanks. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Adi. And the second question from Julian. You can. He is asking about the Ganga River. What is the theology regarding the Ganga River and how it influenced the ritual there? Okay. And we gather the second question.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Baik, perkenalkan saya Yulian Rashida. Izin bertanya sebelumnya Bu kepada Prof. Ananta. Bahasa Indianya selamat siang apa?
What is the Indian words of good afternoon? What is the Indian words of
You
good?
want to know?
Yes, yes.
Please sing a song.
Suruh nyanyi.
Online singing.
She would like to greet you with Indian words of good afternoon.
Langsung saja, jadi saya ingin bertanya mengenai Islam and Interfaith Dialogue in India. Ini kan di India itu tadi ada trans religious dialog. Nah, untuk antar India dan Pakistan, khususnya karena sesama rumpun yang sama, begitu. Nah, bagaimana antar India dan Pakistan itu interfaith dialog, mengingat sama-sama dari rumpun yang sama, namun sedikit berbeda dalam lingkup agama, gitu. Nah, meski beda agama misalnya itu apa yang dilakukan India dan Pakistan, karena ada sedikit konflik di situ. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia. Is there any other question? Okay, from Zakia. Maybe is there any question again? We still have time, I guess. No?
Ya, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, Mas. Saya mau bertanya mengenai latar belakang India sendiri. Kan agama terbesarnya adalah Hindu. Nah, selain Hindu ada Islam, ada Kristen, dan beberapa agama lainnya. Sedangkan dalam Hindu, hewan sapi adalah suci bagi umat Hindu. Nah, bagaimana jika umat Islam di India melakukan ritual Idul Adha, yang dimana Idul Adha sendiri itu berkurban, ada sapi, unta, kerbau, dan yang lain-lain seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Zakia. So we have three questions. The first is about the Ganga River, the theology about the Ganga River and how it is influenced the ritual there. And then the second question is how interfaith dialogue conducted between India and Pakistan, because there are different majority of religions there, and because there are often conflict happen there. And then the third question is Zakia asked about how in India, because in India the largest religion is Hindu and the second largest religion is Islam. How what if Muslim in India perform the ritual of Idul Adha or Eid al-Adha, slaughtering the cows, because cows is considered as sacred in Hindu. Okay, I think that's all. You can answer the three questions.
Terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
There is a line goes, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So with the third questions, let us have a some thought from you, Dr. Prasad. Some thoughts from you.
Okay, I think the question is represent the curiosity of the majority of Muslim in Indonesia to how the Indian Hindu and Indian Muslim can coexist there, because in the theology maybe there is different meaning, especially the question from Zakia is about the cow. The cow is considered as sacred in the Hindu, and Muslim use the cow to slaughter the cow in its ritual. And I think actually I also curious about that, and in my opinion, I think it will be no problem. It will be no problem if the ritual itself still respect the theology of the other. I mean, like the slaughtering of the cows is conducted only in the community of Islam and nothing to do with nothing to do with, and then with the theology of the Hindu, I think. And about the Ganga, yeah, I think it is also part of my curiosity when Ganga river is considered as sacred, but on the other hand, like you said, that Ganga is very, polluted. So there is a hard effort from the government to clean it, and it takes so many years. But yeah, there is no nothing happen, or it can be cleaned for perfectly like that. Yeah, I think my opinion is maybe they need like different approach to do with that, because what I heard is that the Indian also put the corpse on the river. Yes, because it will make it holy. I think to then make the religion go hand in hand with the nature. It should be their approach on how to dialogue to make some dialogue about the religion and the nature, how religion can go hand in hand with nature. I think that's my 2 cents about that issues, Professor.
See, Indonesia and the island of Java was predominantly Hindu until the coming of Islam in the 15th century. Now, in the early coming of Islam on the island of Java in the 17th century, Islam began to prevail over Hinduism and Buddhism. Now, during that time, in the city of Kudus, about 200 kilos from here, you heard about it? In the city of Kudus, there used to be a center of Islam, and the leader of that center is Sunan Kudus. Now, Sunan Kudus prohibited the slaughtering of the cow to respect the Hindus. Now, instead of slaughtering the cow, the Sunan Kudus ordered the slaughtering of buffalo. Now, that practice continues until today. In that particular town, they have the food with buffalo meat in it instead of cow meat. So that is the idea of how trans-religious dialogue is about in Indonesia, particularly the city of Kudus. If you go to Kudus, then you don't find, we have food here called soto. Now, the ingredient of soto is cow meat, but in the town of Kudus, the soto doesn't use cow meat. Instead, it uses buffalo meat. So that is how the legacy of the early Muslims in Indonesia as far as religious dialogue is concerned. Yeah, thank you.
Starting on so much. In fact, in that beautiful evening on 10th of October, when I was in Palm Sadi both teachers in Islamic University of Mengusung. He had told me about Usul. And so important it is that people of the world has to know about it, especially in India. And in India also, there are, for example, food practice. Food practice is a very complex part of life. For example, like complexity of life. Like you say that you do not use alcohol in Islam. But how many Muslims use alcohol? We do not have any data. Because you do not have any data. And for example, you expect some people to be vegetarian, but not all people are vegetarian. Okay, Muslim brother has killed a cow. Then what should be our response? We try to convince him and see, and then you create a practice, and then see how. Then Gandhi also says that many of his Muslim friends have taken him to the centers for the old cows. And Gandhi writes how the condition of these cows are so miserable. Hindus are not considered. So therefore, when it comes to practice, it is always a very difficult process. None of us will always follow our religious views all the time. Like, even if it is forbidden to take alcohol, it's not that you are not taking alcohol. And if all the rules about what is written, if it was there, then we would not have this beautiful tradition of singing and music in Islam. So how, for example, but coming back to the question is that this is an issue. What has happened is that earlier people tried to respect each other and find a way. For example, yes, you kill the cow, but do not throw it to the city canal. You do it in such a way that it does not pollute the environment. Secondly, you also do it in a respectful way. If you just do it publicly, then people will be much more offended. So people have learned through centuries a way of respecting, as you were saying, each other's theology. But what happened is that in the last 200 years, there was a great politicization. So one thing became the only thing. As if the protecting the cow is the only thing about Hindus. But in reality, is Hindus themselves, they do not take care of their cows. Their cows are in a very miserable situation. And today, in the name of cow protection, if you go to Uttar Pradesh, UP, which is the largest state in our country, there in the name of what was happening in these cows, because the life cycle of cows, the cows, they get old, or before, after their productive age is happening. Earlier, people had a way, with respect, and some of them would give to their Muslim friends, and because they are not able to take care of in their own household. And it was a kind of the life cycle approach. People understood their own limitations. But now, this policy that there is protection of cows, as a result, all the cows are roaming in the fields. Like I was in Salatiga 3 days ago. I was taking a walk in the village. So many beautiful agriculture is coming out. Now, if 50 cows are working in the agricultural field, would you have ever any grain from your field? Tell me. No. As a result, what has happened? It is the Hindu villagers themselves, they are the greatest victim of this unmindful political cow protection policy, which is destroying their agriculture. It is a reality that we see. So very quickly we will come to the other questions, please. Now, the first question was about Ganga. Yes, Ganga as sacred is part of the sacredness of life. Life consists of 5 elements, and Hindus talk about it as Pancha Mahabhuta. Pancha means 5, you know? Hold your finger like this. Pancha. And these 5 big elements are: one is water, one is air, one is fire, one is ether, and another is akasa. Now these 5 elements, are they only important for Hindus or for everybody? Because this is the 5 elements of life. Whether I am Muslim or Hindu, we all cannot live without water. Can you live?
No.
So therefore, what Hindus did, they brought sacredness to these elements. So sacredness of river is part of sacredness of water. And Ganga from that point of view. Maybe Ganga is considered more sacred compared to a little river in your village. But that does not mean your river is not, village river is not sacred compared to Ganga. It is considered more sacred. Because why? The Ganga is coming from the Himalayas. And Himalaya is considered very sacred for Indians. Secondly, there are a lot of beautiful stories about Ganga, how Ganga has come. We do not have time. But the second thing, the question about India and Pakistan, very nice. Have you been to Pakistan? Have you seen Pakistani movies?
Yes.
Yes? You like Pakistani movies?
Indian side of the Indian movie.
Sorry?
Indian movie.
Better, right?
Yeah.
Now the point is that India and Pakistan, that we are children of the same mother. On August 13, 1947, very difficult things have happened in history. The question you are asking is very important. What religious leaders have done for the initiation of dialogue between India and Pakistan? I think Islamic leaders from India, our Muslim leaders, some of them have established Muslim leaders with Pakistan. In Kashmir, I know that Sufism plays a very important role. And so that way, there is this network of religious teachers, and though some of the religious elements, they are using extremism to wage war and terrorism. But some religious leaders are using religion to find ways for peace. We need to have more of that. And therefore, as we have, for example, how dialogue happens through music. Now, Indians today, many years you were watching Indian movie.
Yes.
Now, which kind of music that Indians are listening to? You talk to many young Indians, they are listening to Pakistani Sufi music. And one or two singers from Pakistan, they are very, very popular in India and India. In my book, there is a small paragraph called Sonam Kalra. You can write that name, Sonam Kalra. KLRA, Sonam Kalban Sufi Gospel Music Project. Because today the kind of border crossing that is happening in music, in film, that is very good for interreligious family. That reminds me of a small experience. I will conclude in just 1 minute. In 2015, my second visit to Indonesia, so I came to have dinner with the former agriculture minister, Pak Suswana. And I was having dinner, and after the dinner, a friend of Pa Suswana put me on the behind of his motorbike. Because in Jakarta, he says that if you take the taxi, it will take 4 hours. And if you sit behind my motorbike, you will see. And then while being on the motorbike, he said that he watches movies and he thinks that movie is very good for religious education. Because if you watch movies, then you have an understanding of life, and that helps you to appreciate the value that religion is. So in this Sufi music project, today interreligious dialogue is also accompanied by interreligious music, and if it can grow more and more. And the third question was about I think these are all the questions, no? And I think these are all the questions. No? Any other question that comes? With respect, so maybe we should, because to speak about the person in public again, because but I just wish to say that it is enriching to read him, to know him, and he also brings a lot of very important energy to ecology, spirituality, and
Thank you, Professor Ananta. Please give saya kira semua pertanyaan tadi sudah terjawab ya, bahwa tadi soal penyembelihan sapi ya di India itu tetap bisa dilakukan dengan menghormati satu sama lain dan tidak dilakukan secara provokatif ya, karena itu penghormatan satu sama lain itu sudah dilakukan sejak lama. Dan tadi ya tentang Sungai Gangga itu memang dianggap lebih sakral daripada sungai-sungai yang lain karena berasal dari Himalaya yang mana itu juga dianggap suci dalam tradisi Hindu. Dan tentang hubungan India dan Pakistan, dialog antar agama itu salah satunya terjadi melalui pertukaran budaya ya, seperti musik, kemudian film dan lain sebagainya. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Ananta, for your presentation and discussion today. But before we close this event, there will be we have some souvenirs from Pusat Studi Agama dan Perdamaian. So, and we will have some photo session. Okay. For Pak Dekan, Pak Abdillah. Pak Abdillah is the director of PSAP. Please.
Pak Dekan, nunggu Pak Dekan yang lebih sepuh. Sesama sesepuh dilarang saling menghormati.
Ah, pinter. Sopo jenenge iki? Koyung. Kok enggak tahu. Ya gitu wae sebetulnya. Udah Pak.
Kula gak biasa.
Nanti minta itu aja ya. Kayak kemarin aja Mbak Nisa.
Thank you.
Bener.
Saya walaupun berdiri nggak kelihatan.
Kelihatan. Anggap aja kelihatan. Yo, generasi mini-mini kan itu lah orang berdiri. Andi deh kok.
Is gimana PSAP?
Nggak ada, belum dibuatin. Oh PS apa gini ya? Like this, Mister. Thank you. PS apa sir? Sebagai Prof. Oke. Hah? Your name? Lia Prof. Lia Prof. Oke. Thank you Prof.
Terus yang gini.
Cute. Ayo.
Thank you
So much everyone. That's all for our Peace series episode 2. Stay tuned for the next Peace Talk series. PSAP will give another special Peace Talk series. Okay. Okay, thank you once again. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Tahu kertasku kan melaju, membawa surat cinta bagimu, kata-kata yang sedikit gila, tapi ini adanya perahu kertas mengingatkanku betapa ajaib